We back on. Our sincere apologies there, ladies and gentlemen. We just lost connection there through no fault of Freddie and myself and Captain Gubayo. We have our national security advisor, Captain Jerry Gubayo. He played a very critical role in the rescue and the evacuation attempts on Sunday evening the Monday morning there from Madhya Region 8, where 18 students, there's 18 girls, teenagers, lost their life along with a very young, the son of the dorm mother. Captain, we were talking about, I'm not sure what the people would have missed, but you were saying we were talking that the dorm mother was able to escape. She lost her son. She was trying to open the door.
Girl, the 14-year-old girl.
And the 14-year-old girl, I understand, was taken to the hospital, the alleged arsonist. What else do we know at this point in time? I think there's going to be I think the Home Affairs Minister has indicated there's going to be an intense review as to, with regards to the dorms.
Well, that is a different issue. I mean, obviously, we have to do the kind of post-mortem and study of what happened, surgical looking at things and so on. But basically, just to bring you up to scratch with that, and so but it's a very sad. As you know, to be on the ground, Nadia, to walk in that building, and for a moment, even for a few minutes, imagine what it was like inside the building. But I'll tell you what could have been more terrifying is the people on the outside who was hearing those children screaming and begging for help. That would have been an agonizing and terrifying moment for the people on the outside. And there were men who apparently was trying to, and they did break the walls and broke holes, and they extracted children out of it. But I want to make it very clear, this building was not locked from the outside. This building was locked from the inside with the dorm mother on the inside with her children. Just as you would lock up your house at night.
There was
unfortunately, when they woke her, she got the keys, and it was a little confusing and obviously very nervous, and it was terrible. What happened after that? Go ahead.
There's some side stories that came out before Freddie jumped in. I know he's aiming.
No.
One of the things that, and I saw you spoke about it, the dangers of landing plane in very bad weather in the Region 8 area. And I know the Region 8 area is one of the most dangerous areas when it comes to flying planes in the end, those small planes. You had indicated that those guys and your team and so on, who was asked by the president to conduct these very dangerous maneuvers into those areas, these dangerous flights, that it was a very difficult time for them as well. And you had to wake your son up to get them ready at a moment's notice to do the country's work.
Well, Freddie and yourself would have been following my own career, and for the last 35 years, I've been flying the jungles at night, both as the GDF pilot and then when I started for Rima. And it is flying at night is a high risk. Actually, according to the laws of Guyana, it's illegal to fly in the Guyana airspace at night unless in emergency. So it is so dangerous that in the laws of Guyana, they do not allow you to fly commercial flights at night domestically in Guyana. But it's only allowed with a special approval, which is to do for emergencies. And so we've been doing it for many, many years, and we been able to establish procedures, especially when the GPS came out, to try to do what is considered stabilized flying and stabilized approaches into these runways. Still, when the weather is bad, it makes it exceptionally difficult.
Captain Gavaya, first of all, my admiration to you. I remember working with the radio station in March 2020, and you did excellently to save Guyana, and you did it again. My admiration to you. Don't know if it's reported in the press. How many planes touched down there at that time? One. Okay.
I have a question for you.
Let me just expand on Freddie. Freddie, when the president called, and we knew that was going to be difficult, because and we made the decision that the pilot decided to take that they were dispatched into the thunderstorms and they will make the effort to land. And if they couldn't land, the people on the ground will know that we tried. But we were not going to stay in Georgetown and wait for the weather to clear. We were going to go and do what it takes to get overhead and attempt to land. If we couldn't land, without endangering ourselves below the mountains, because the Maria is encircled by mountains, the Pakrama mountain. And so there was a deliberate decision taken. My son and his co-pilot, they were very conscious of the decision they took, that they will go. But I have done this many times, and both of these pilots are pilots I've trained personally. So I had a lot of confidence that they would follow the procedures that they were trained to do, and which is what they did. On that plane that they went with, they had, and this is what was significant, and this is why it was important that plane land, because that plane had Minister Robeson-Ben, but more particularly, the plane had the burn specialist doctors with all the specialized equipment. So that plane had to land for the doctors to get in there and help to prepare the patients coming out for flight. Because remember, in a fire, the lungs of the victims, of the people, of the injured people would be very, very fragile. And so that is why you needed to have specific medical attention before these people could fly. And so it was important that flight get in there. But what we discovered, that there were two planes on the ground, an air services plane and a Trans-Guyana plane. They overnighted there because they actually fly from Maria and they take cargo to across the Pakrama mountain ranges in Region 8 and 7. So they were on the ground, but they couldn't leave because you could very well collapse people's lungs if you put them in a plane and then take them up into low pressure, where the lung. So the doctors needed to work on these patients before they put them in the planes. So the Trans-Guyana had to land with the specialized equipment and specialized doctors to prepare the patients. Sorry, Freddie, go ahead.
I heard you 2 nights ago saying when the rescue attempts were made by this plane, they had thunder and lightning. So those pilots were braving adverse situations.
Yes.
In most disasters like this worldwide, days after, those brave souls are made known to the public. I hope those two pilots are given the national plaudits from the people of Guyana that they deserve. And I hope their names and their faces could be plastered on the walls of this nation in the few coming days.
Captain, as National Security Advisor, could the people of Guyana expect that there is going to be a serious review, a clampdown? Because I'm sure it's all in the laws when it comes to safety of homes and public buildings, and so that we're going to see some serious kind of attention being paid to it. Is that expected that it's going to be very shortly? Could we expect that as a people?
Thank you for that question. But I'll tell you, even now, for example, in my own hotels, every year before this license is renewed, and it happens across the country, it happens in the tourism. So the fire service actually comes to your building and they inspect you for making sure you have the fire extinguishers and make sure you have the correct fire extinguishers for the kind of, so electrical fires is one kind of fire extinguisher. So they're different. So you have the appropriate fire extinguishers. You have fire alarms and smoke detectors. You have the fire buckets. So right now, even as we speak, there is enforcement of those regulations. And I want to say, I think that the fire service have to impose their systems not only to the private sector, but they must do it to the public sector with the same vigor as well. And it's something, I am telling you, President Ali is not going to sit down and allow this to continue for another day. He right now all he's focused on is the families and the children that lost their brothers and sisters and the communities that lost their loved ones, and he's focusing on that. But let me tell you, I looked at his face and I listened to his voice, And I know that we are going to be sitting down for hours and hours after this, scrutinizing this and fixing it. And President Ali will not live over one day with this situation the way it is. He will fix it.
Okay, thank you, Captain. We're going to have you in the studio here next month on our anniversary of the program. Thank you very much.
Captain Jerry Gavaya, National Security Advisor, who's just given us a lot of insights. In fact, there's a lot of speculations around the place as to what would have transpired. He has given us even more than what the police would have been putting out there, what has been reported. Captain Jerry Gavaya, National Security Advisor. Thank you very much. Have a good night, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Freddie, and I've seen a lot. I've been following social media and I've been paying attention, and there's a lot of speculations up there. And people got to be cognizant as to the challenges we have on the ground. One, the lack of enforcement, and two, we now coming out and we now dealing with this thing here, and it has to be an eye opener. I'm glad to hear him say that the president is very focused on getting it right. Yeah. Let's just take this call. Good evening, caller.
Hey, good evening, Freddie and Gildarie.
Good evening. Go right ahead.
I want to make a few points very quickly. First of all, let me give my condolences to the family and friends and the Guyana at large. I couldn't have been said more better than what you have said. You have cleared up a lot of points earlier in the program, so I want to get straight down to this thing. You know, it despises me to see what the opposition is doing with these things, making it a political problems and putting it out there to the people as if the government fault, right? It despises me to see this. You need to stop playing politics with people's life and people's emotions. The country is vulnerable right now. And these people have the audacity to go out there and make it a political issue. That is one. We had a Facebook post from a teacher from Region 6, Albion area, was basing the government spending money all over, not putting in fire extinguisher in the schools and whatever. I have a question for her. She's a senior teacher. I did some background. She says, had she ever made recommendation while she was a senior, for all her teaching life, made recommendation at any meetings or at any minutes at the Ministry of Education that schools needed fire extinguisher?
Well, there's so many things. We could talk about that horrific road accident, so many things. What we're speaking about is generally in Guyana, we have a broken system because of years of neglect, one. Two, we never had the finances for it. We have it right now. So it is going to be a work in progress, and that is what we have to pay attention to. And I think that's what Captain Jerry Gavaya is talking about too. The work now begins.
Now you would get things going on. Then you're now getting the finance, you're now getting the resources. Things it's going to be there, things is going to get better. But you just can't jump and blame the government. The government went in there.
We all have to take blame for what happened in Matthew Region 8 on Sunday night. All Guyana. Because we talk about mediocrity, we pay bribes, we endorse corruption, and we allow things to happen. Yeah. The laws cater for this. Thank you very much, caller, for coming too. Yeah. Good evening, caller.
Good night, Freddie. Good night, Gildarie, Harbhajan here.
Good evening, Harbhajan. Go right ahead.
I want to, Freddie talk about safety. You also talk about we have a broken system. I will endorse that. So since 2006, Freddie talk about people occupying road shoulders. Since 2006, I fight this thing. In the press, I fight it. When I was a councillor, I pushed very, very hard. The road shoulder we wait until something happened to address it. Many times I addressed it with Minister Edgell, David Patterson, who hold the same position, Ministry of Public Works. What have been done to it? We wait till an accident happened or tragedy happened to address it. The incident that happened, unfortunately, 19 lives has lost. Now we're going to have the discussion. eventually months and years ago, then the dust will settle and nothing fits.
I don't think so. I think so. I think, Govind Harbajan, that this country should be using this. If those kids die in vain, we will be failing those families and those kids. Those kids are in the prime of their life, and we have failed them. And if we allowed it, we all fail them. We all fail this country. We fail it. Simple as that.
But hold a sec, Gildarie and Harbajan. First of all, I think it's asinine and comical, dangerous to blame the government. A man goes through a red light and licks up a school bus, children die. How can you blame the government? So there are things that this country have to put right. Not the government, but the country in its holistic way. Now, there was a terrible fire in this country and the prison was burned down. The report stated clearly, and this is where all of us involved, especially media people and commentators and activists, the report that came out of that fire said, prisons are overcrowded and you have to look at sentencing. One doesn't know if that report was made mandatory requirement reading for magistrates and judges. You pick up the paper and you see people getting, a man stole from his sister, he gets jail. And we are reaching a stage again where the prison is going to be overcrowded, where magistrates just love to deny bail or put bail that is excessive, and we're going to have an overcrowded prison. And the report stated that the prison was overcrowded and it's related to lack of guidelines in sentencing people. So I am hoping in my heart that this tragedy in Mahdia will psychologically and at a deep psychic level get us together as a nation and do what is scientifically, mentally, psychologically, behavioristically right. I come to this studio in Queenstown at Luluni Street, and I take Peter Rose Street to come in here. These streets are so narrow that if a huge car is coming, we got some people with humongous cars in this country. You can't go on to the road shoulder, the parapet. People have palm trees. People have nicely landscaped gardens on the parapet. That is, imagine a police chasing
That's a form of squatting. Simple as that.
And guess what is going to happen? When the time comes when all of us say that these things should be removed, some billionaires and some people with powerful connections say, man, we're wrong with you. My minister, we're wrong with you no longer. I got a statue on the parapet there in front of my house.
Absolutely. I want to add there, Freddie. Up in Borbies, and it can be in Essequibo, you'd see these owners transport property start from the fence go back, but yet they will build a culvert up to the road edge and they'll put pipes and iron bars and chain. Where you expect these vehicles, emergency police vehicles, to traverse when you have tractors, combine and everything pack up all over the city? If a man wants junk a truck, you dump them by the road. Come when you want to throw old buses on the road. What do? The law is there, enforce it. Some may like it and some may not, but the majority will prevail, and then you will find the bigger fish will always get away with it. I
live in a community next to CARICOM. Those gated communities are public invited to drive through it. And those streets are so narrow that I'm telling you, no police could chase a criminal there and use the road shoulder, the parapet. Everybody, I would say, except me and my two neighbors, have one of my neighbors have big palm trees on the parapet. Everybody in my compound have taken over the road shoulders, the parapets.
They fenced the big flower garden, so some of them...
The big palm trees on the parapet. One of the chief, I want to use an acceptable word. One of the persons who have done that in my compound is one of the person who agitates to change this country for the better, Dr. Yog Mahadio. He has huge trees on the parapet. It affects me when I'm driving in my compound. But anyway, thanks for coming through, Abidjan.
Thank you very much.
We got other callers.
Bye-bye. But Freddie Kissoon, you got to understand, back in the 80s, people were being retrenched and that kind of thing. And so you could not have had any enforcements. Back in the 90s, Guyana was trying to recover or trying to put itself on the right path. Where are we now? We're trying to make use of the money to spend it in a wise way. The government has that job to do. So you got to understand, context is everything. Context is everything.
Context is everything in life. That's a fulcrum on which life rests.
Yep.
Context. So
context is everything. So if you missed us a very few moments ago, we had our national security advisor, Captain Jerry Gubayana, shedding light on what really transpired Sunday night based on investigation, and he would know.
What he did say there, and I hope no other caller comes in and talk some of the outlandish things that they did. The house mother was there, and in trying to save and open the door, she lost her son.
Her thing. That is very
don't knock knock the house mother.
Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening.
Go right ahead.
I'm trying to make sense out of nonsense. Forgive me for saying so. Of what Mr. Govayo shared with us tonight here. First thing he said that the dormitory was locked from inside, and the mother of the institution was outside.
He didn't say that.
He said she was in a room.
Excuse me, sir. He didn't say that.
Wait.
Excuse me, sir. Don't let me raise my voice.
According to me, say that the lock was inside of the building.
That's correct.
And the lady was inside her room.
Inside a room with her kid.
Were you listening to him?
Yeah, according to me, he said that the padlock or the lock was from inside. The dormitory is locked from the inside.
Right.
Oh, a mother for the dormitory and lock this dormitory from inside every night or when she goes to bed.
Excuse me.
No. Let him ask the question. So what's the question?
No, the question is no. This is between you.
So hold a sec. The captain said 3 times. You lock the door as when you lock the door to go to bed. Everybody does that.
No.
How is that a problem for you?
No, here what happened. I'm trying to understand what he was saying. According to what I understand, what he was saying is that she was trying to get the lock open from the inside. Now, if she's the mother of the dormitory, is the house that this lock got the lock from the inside, and she's on the outside.
She was not.
The man never said that.
Sorry.
But we have to put this in the.
So you're misleading people. You're misleading people, or you did not understand what Captain Jerry Gubayana to say. I don't have the patience. I must confess. I must confess to the thousands of people who are looking, saying, I don't have the patience as Gildarie. The man came on.
Listen back to what he says. It's going to be recorded here. Yeah. You would have to. But what is very clear, if you have a fire happening and the ceiling is burning and the man is saying that, it's going to be very confusing and smoke is all over the place. It's not going to be very straightforward to open the doors. But hold on. It is also important to point out that all Guyana would be looking, I would be looking for the report when the inquiry comes out as to what transpired, who was where, and who had the keys. Whether I saw some speculations as to where the dormitory is. We're waiting on that. We don't know that.
But Jerry Gubayana said she was
inside, based on his information.
Trying to open the door. Okay, Sol, thanks a lot for coming through. We got a lot of other callers. Thanks a lot for coming through.
Thank you.
I can't understand how we could
because people
Mr. Gubayana And
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen. First of all, my condolences to the family and the community of Nadia and all Guyana. With respect to what that previous caller was saying, what Captain Gouveia said, and I hope he's listening, what Captain Gouveia said, the door was locked from the inside, like all houses. The house mother was in her room, in the building. She was not outside of the building.
So all the thousands of people that
Everybody heard that.
Everybody heard that.
Everybody.
Some callers just want to look, a call-in program is a free-for-all. People call and say everything. We, as the moderator, have to know how to treat it. Thanks for coming through. Don't worry with that guy. Thanks for coming through. We got a call.
Just creating janjat.
All right, but this is serious. Yeah, thanks a lot, my brother, for coming through. Good evening, caller. Good evening, caller. All right, let's take this one. Good evening, caller. Hello. I think we lost. Okay, let's go again. Good evening.
Hi, good night, guys, and I would like to give my condolences to all those families that today I saw a part where these parents and family gather up and they were crying. It was so hurtful. Well, what my question is that everybody there asking about the guard, we ask about the fire extinguisher, why the place is grilled, but I want to say that had those kids had more supervision adults there, I guess things would have been different, more lives would have been saved, because one person to so many kids, that's where we lost it. That's one area. Thank you.
Absolutely, and as we go forward as a country, that is an area that has to be looked into. We have to see recommendations, Freddie. Guyana, I don't think nobody could have ever catered whether you put 2 or 3 house mothers in the place for something like this, but obviously more personnel in the building to oversee, because as Captain would have said, it's a place where you keep the kids right. They're teenagers.
You should have had either 2 or 3
right.
persons.
It is always something to look into.
Obviously, the house mother should have had a deputy.
Let us go to see this call. Good evening, caller.
Yes, good evening. My take on this, condolences first to the family who lost and to the nation as a whole. Something that struck me today, in this time of mourning, if I'm reading right, I look at newsroom on Facebook, and I saw the foreign secretary in Qatar on business mission in time of mourning.
Well, I think this thing only happened Sunday.
But when did he leave?
Yeah.
He probably left before that, sir. You should have ascertained when he left.
No. What I'm saying, regardless when he left, do you think was the appropriate thing to do? That's just my question.
No, but how could you say, regardless of when he left, if he left before the fire, how could that be inappropriate?
But Mr. Kissoon,
so that's common sense.
No, Mr. Kissoon, look at foreign leaders. When tragedy happened in their homeland, they cut short the visit and returned to the homeland.
But he's not a leader.
But so you have 25 cabinet ministers, in which the 4 in line are in Guyana: President, Vice President, President, Prime Minister, Vice President, and Second Vice President, and 15 other cabinet ministers, with the head of the army in the country, the head of the police force, the national security advisor. I mean, we can.
But Mr. Kissoon,
wait a sec, so explain to me how his.
Okay, go right ahead. Ask a question.
I'm not asking him to be there. I'm asking if they couldn't show some respect for the nation by not conducting business. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm not sure.
How you know he didn't? How you know he didn't observe a moment of silence in his talk? How you know what he did in Qatar? You know what he did to me?
Mr. Kissoon, I think we're drifting off here. I'm saying show some respect. That's all I'm saying.
Hold
on. I need to ask you a question. I need to ask you a question, sir. Are you familiar in cases like this in any other country? What has been the protocol, or what has been? How do they treat something like this? No, I'm asking.
What I've seen. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if there's a protocol, but what I've seen. Look at the recent. They have fires in Canada. Ministers cut short the visit when they had shooting in cities. I see that all around.
I would say something to you. I don't think there's a playbook or anything that's available that would say how a government's supposed to behave like this. It's a thought. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. And I mean, this is a call. Everybody has their opinion. I thank you for coming through.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I don't think there's going to be any book, but he has his opinion.
Everybody have their opinion, but some opinion are so twisted.
Yep. I'm not sure what twisted.
I mean, why should the first secretary and it is anyway? Look, I don't want to dignify.
You think Irfan Ali, as a president, would have had?
So this guy.
No. Would he have understood what to do there? But as leader, you have to make a call.
I don't want to pursue.
Right.
I don't want to discuss.
Yeah, but Freddie, you have to make a decision call as a president, as leaders of this country. We're going to get it right. We're going to get it wrong. But there's no playbook who's going to tell you how to act or what. Freddie, the people are going to wait. Let me say what I have to say.
Yeah.
Good evening, caller. Yes, good evening. I'm calling concerning the tragedy that happened in the interior. Now, my take on this here is I've listened to all of the arguments. You see, I believe that from day one, when the institution is being erected or reconstructed, there should have been a proactive thing to take care of security and the fire services, the guards. Everything should have been put in place then, because then whoever was in authority, they should have made sure proactively that things like these, if they occur, they should have put plans in place to deal with it. That's my take. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. There was how many dorms do you know how many dorms we have in Guyana? Freddie?
No, I don't. I know UG has.
This could have happened.
2 or 3.
This could have happened at almost anything. But look, at the end of the day, I think what is important is that our nation has failed. Our people has failed those kids, and it's a wake-up call, and I'm going to say it again, it's a wake-up call to start getting things right, not only with fire and safety, but almost everything, the way we issue driver's license, the way that we decide to deal with the road users who kill people on the road, whether there can be, and I think they passed some laws which is almost like murder now, that you're treating them. Good evening, caller.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Condolence to the families of the deceased. My take on this is that, all right, it all started from home. We all have kids, right? Nobody's pointing the fingers. President, vice president, ministries, whoever. When you have one person running an institution like this, it is hard. How much can one parent or one person take care of all these kids over there, right? Point now to be taking. If you have a disciplined kid, right, it all comes from the kid. Who ignites the fire? Because somebody's scolding you? Because you're doing the wrong things?
Well, this case here, this incident, this horrific incident has really exposed us and our weaknesses.
Yeah, I was listening to that. So if she was having an affair with a big man, and this person who's running this institution scold you, take away your phone, is this your mentality? It all started from home. We all know that. It's what you got taught at home, it's how you brought it from home. It's not pointing fingers about government doing this and about government doing that. leave the government out. Yes, I understand they need a better structure of building, right? No point taking in that, no argument. But you cannot blame a finger anything that happens. You blame the government for that.
Well, the government ultimately, the buck stops at them. But however, we got to be, everything is context, and we have to be realistic about this situation here. And as a people, like I said, we have to fix it.
Other people who's calling in and talk nonsense, you need to take a step back and take your own views. You have kids. If you don't discipline your kids, how will your kids act outside? Somebody else is taking care of that responsibility, taking care of your kids. Show some respect for that person too. I understand. I'm a hard person. I'm a hard parent to my kids. If I scold you for doing something wrong, you don't need to retaliate in that way. And that's another thing that the facilities need to have is like counseling within that department.
I got you.
State pressures. Have a counseling department to handle these, trouble things. We're all teenagers. We all went there. We all know we can rebound. Right? But one person or two persons, you cannot give that. You can't hold everybody accountable.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that for coming through. And some very good recommendations there. Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening. I just got one question. Do you guys know how old is that building?
We don't know a lot of stuff. We don't know a lot of stuff at this moment.
Okay, why everybody just keep complaining about the window bar up and everything? Like nobody know about this thing before. Like the opposition didn't know about all this bar in the window and all these things. Everybody just complaining about that. You know what I'm saying? Like only now they know about this building, or now they know what's barred up, and you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, people are trying to get answers. You can. We have to be fair. People are trying to get answers, and of course, there's a lot of nonsense circulating out there. But we have to get our facts.
It is.
Captain Jerry Gubayas has put some things in perspective tonight.
I know. I heard that. The guy was right. Like the one idiot keep calling us saying, "Oh, the lady was outside and all these things." You know what I mean?
All right. Thank you very much for coming through there. Have a good night, sir.
No, you too. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Good evening, caller. I think we lost that one very quickly. Let's see this one here. Good evening, caller.
Tune down your volume, sir.
Hello. I don't think the person is ready.
He's listening.
Right here.
He's listening to the program.
Apologies here. So we have just a few minutes there. We could probably get in a few calls very quickly. We're talking. Let's go right ahead. Good evening, caller. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Mr. Freddie.
Yes,
yes,
sir.
it is.
Good night.
Good night.
Look, I call him to just say something. Why when people call in and try to bash the AP and you don't, or the coalition, you ask them and listen.
So you're talking. So you're speaking on the issue. So you're speaking on the issue.
You, Mr. Freddie, always on the rage. You gotta tell people voice.
So the topic is.
People voice. You gotta come better than that. You're really more wiser than you. But still, you show like a natural passion.
You operate.
All right, we hear you. Thank you for that. This show is open where there could be criticism.
Come off your platform and give somebody else that run the platform. Is a biased big man.
All right, later. Thank you for coming. Thank.
People talking about PP and people talking about AP and you.
Gildarie, you know what the topic of this program is? Is this guy speaking about the topic?
All right, thank you for coming through the caller. I'm sure that Freddie heard you. Thank you.
No.
All right. I'm being advised by our operator, and of course, there are going to be people who are going to have different views. It's okay. We're going to listen. 9:50.
We are going to listen? I wasn't going to listen to him.
That's all right,
No, but you see, one of the problems, the problem is, and we've had this, anyway, listen, we have a topic on the thing, and a guy ignores a national tragedy and trying to talk, hey man, when people talk about PNC, and you just politely say, so that is not the topic, and thank you for calling in. The thing about The thing about a call-in program, and we've been doing this.
You can never know what is coming through the line.
Right.
It's going to be unpredictable.
Right. But you could know when the person start to talk.
Let's take this call. Good evening, caller.
Hi, I'm just calling to find out if
Lower your volume, whatever you're listening to there, please, right away.
if this program will be here back on the air.
It is going to be aired again. You could look at it on Facebook, on Guyanese Critic, or you go to YouTube, it's Guyanese Critic or Daybreak News here.
So all you have to do when the program is over, go to YouTube, type in Gildarie Freddie Kissoon, and you'll see the whole program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. If you have missed it or you're now joining us, we would have had a little break in the program because of internet connection and so on, but we're back. So there was earlier, with regards to that horrific Madhya fire, which claimed the lives of 18 girl students, as well as a little kid. And we did have our National Security Advisor, Captain Jerry Gubaya, a little earlier, dispelling a lot of rumors and giving us some facts. Based on what he would have been briefed as to what really transpired on the ground. So let us wait until a couple of things comes out from the police and so on. We understand what has already also come out is that there is a person who's in hospital, I think he said, the person being accused of setting the fire who happened to be a student. We can't name that person, of course, because of laws that govern how juveniles are treated in this country when it comes to naming them and so on. But I presume that is going to come out very shortly. Freddie, as we come down to a close of the program, this country is in mourning. We can't forget the families. We can't forget the students who would have been there. Of course, the people who would have seen and witnessed. Captain said that they were people who heard the screams of the little girls and could do nothing about it. Over to you, Freddie.
Well, I think our time has come. Just two announcements I want to make. We will be working on holidays. Friday's a holiday, and it's 57 years of independence, so we will have a program on Friday. So you can tune in on Friday. And my final statement. As you know, I started on Monday doing a daily column for the Chronicle, and I have a surprise for you in my column tomorrow. I would suggest you go and read it. One of the most prominent persons in Guyana and the Caribbean the past 50 years, and not in the least a supporter of the PPP government, have come out in an acerbic denunciation of people who he said are calling for Guyana to stop oil production. And he was very harsh in his condemnation, and he used the words elite middle class. He says such people practice class inhumanity. It's a very, very prominent name the past 55 years in Guyana and the region, and he is no government supporter. I think you should read the column tomorrow, and I listed my email address, so I will send you the interview in which he made that statement. Our condolence again to the people of Madhya, especially the survivors and the family. We will be here on the 57th anniversary of Guyana on Friday evening. Until then, as I normally say, catch you later.
I think there's another thing to you something just sparked in my head there, Freddie. A lot of people sending condolences to Madhya. Madhya was where the dorm was. The parents, the families are living away from Madhya. So those families are living in far-flung areas and were put into the care of the state, in the care of those dorms. So it's not just about Madhya, it's about the surrounding communities, which might be miles upriver and so on. So while we're talking about the incident occurred in Madhya, its repercussion, the ripple effects would have been to those areas and to those families. And even in Georgetown here, one person said they lost 3 cousins in that fire there. So a lot of the families, they're related, and from that perspective, we have to also look at it. So there are many stories interwoven into this that is coming out, and it's so devastating. Two twin girls included among those that died so very tragically Sunday night. So once again, we want to say good night on a very sobering note to everybody who joined us. You're going to see this show here coming to you in two parts because we were interrupted because of a break in transmission in the internet. You could also look at it on Facebook and on YouTube, Guyanese Critic or Daybreak News. Wherever you are, good night. Let us keep in prayers the loved ones and the survivors of that Madhya tragedy. And you would have heard Captain Gildarie, National Security Advisor, given his take and what he would have learned firsthand of what happened. He was there and spent a number of nights in Madhya, a couple of nights after that incident there, and he would know. Wherever you are, good night until Friday. Freddie Kissoon and myself saying good night.